Welcome to our next lesson in the Artificial Intelligence Governance course. Today we will focus on what harm can be caused to people and their groups. For this, we will use one of the most authoritative frameworks, knowledge of which is fundamental for an AI governance specialist. We will rise from the level of an individual person to the level of the entire society, analyzing what negative consequences of AI use may arise at each of them. And, of course, at the end of the lesson there will be a bonus test to check the knowledge gained. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to the channel. And if you are subscribed and find the lessons useful, please like so that YouTube's algorithms introduce this video to more people. In the previous lesson, we thoroughly examined types of harm according to 4 theoretical criteria. Although theory provides a solid foundation, I am convinced that even when studying concepts, it's important to immediately turn to practical frameworks as well. Today we will move to practice and study one of the most influential documents in this field, developed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology USA, NIST AI Risk Management Framework. It presents a comprehensive approach to AI risk management, which has already become a de facto standard for many organizations around the world. The peculiarity of this framework lies in the fact that it not only systematizes risks, but offers a structured method for their assessment and management. We will study and work with this important document more than once within our course. According to this framework, harm is defined as negative impact on individuals, groups, organizations, communities, or society that is a result, wholly or partially, of the impact of an AI system. The key feature of this definition is the recognition that harm can be both a direct and indirect result of artificial intelligence operation. Let's examine the following table, which clearly divides harm depending on who it was inflicted upon. Of course, it's necessary to remember that harm is often complex and affects several categories simultaneously. Harm to people is proposed to be classified as individual, group, and social. Organizational harm can be operational, in the sphere of information security and finance, reputational. Ecosystem harm includes damage to interconnected elements and resources, financial and logistical chains, ecology and climate. Let's analyze each category further more carefully. Individual harm is a direct, tangible blow to a specific person. This is when the system says, "No," personally to you. This harm manifests in 3 key spheres of our lives: our civil rights, our security, and our economic opportunities. Civil rights and freedoms are the foundation on which personal security in the digital age is built. Artificial intelligence is capable of violating these rights in different ways, sometimes unintentionally, but with real consequences. One of the key risks is algorithmic discrimination. For example, in a widely known case, a hiring system developed by Amazon was shut down after it was revealed that it systematically downgraded evaluations of resumes submitted by women. The reason was that the algorithm was trained on historical data reflecting gender biases. This case became a textbook example of how AI can absorb and reproduce existing prejudices even without explicit malicious intent. Another important aspect is privacy. Personal data, including purchase history, movements, social media interactions, can be used not only for marketing, but also in decision-making affecting more delicate spheres of human life. When such data is applied outside of context or without consent, there arises a risk that AI use violates the right to private life. The third concept is autonomy. It is connected with a person's ability to control their life and make their own decisions. One of the most resonant examples is a case in the Netherlands, where an automated fraud detection system in the social sphere falsely accused thousands of families. This led to unfounded inspections, administrative measures and, in a number of cases, family destruction. This example illustrates how AI can undermine human dignity and autonomy when systems make decisions without transparency and proper verification mechanisms. AI systems can influence not only our rights, but also a person's physical and psychological health. These forms of harm are often less noticeable, but potentially extremely dangerous. The first aspect is physical safety. AI is increasingly used in critically important systems, in car autopilots, surgical robots, medical decision support systems. Any malfunction or error in such systems can lead to direct damage to human health or even life. For example, errors in a car's autopilot or incorrect behavior of a medical robot can have fatal consequences. This emphasizes the importance of strict testing, validation, and implementation of emergency stop mechanisms. The second important aspect is psychological safety. Recommendation algorithms of social networks are developed with the goal of maximum user attention retention. However, in the process they may select content provoking strong emotional reactions, anxiety, aggression, or addiction. Such behavioral models can influence users' emotional state, forming a distorted picture of the world and intensifying feelings of uncertainty or social isolation. And finally, it's necessary to consider the growth of AI-enhanced cyber threats, including AI-enhanced cyberbullying. Using artificial intelligence to create fake images, deepfakes, automate harassment, or spread offensive content can lead to systematic psychological attacks on a person. This creates new challenges for legislation and requires implementation of protective mechanisms at the platform level. The third important aspect of individual harm is negative influence on a person's economic opportunities. AI technology development has a significant impact on the labor market. Automation is capable of replacing many professions, from drivers to analysts. In the absence of large-scale retraining programs, this can lead to significant social consequences and job loss for millions of people. Even for those who keep their jobs, there is a risk of algorithmic exclusion. For example, an AI-based banking system may refuse a mortgage not based on your financial indicators, but because of a model considering your place of residence or occupation as high risk. This creates opaque and often unfair barriers to obtaining financial and social services. All of this intensifies the problem of digital inequality. Insufficient access to technologies and lack of necessary digital skills can lead to systematic exclusion of entire population groups from economic life. There arises a risk of exacerbating the gap between those who have resources to participate in the digital economy and those who are deprived of such opportunities. We have just examined how artificial intelligence can harm one person. But what happens when the same mistake, the same injustice is repeated again and again, affecting thousands, and maybe millions of people? Group harm arises when AI systems cause damage not to a separate person, but to entire communities or social groups. The main manifestation of harm is discrimination in different directions, amplified by technologies. Systemic bias is when artificial intelligence, trained on our historical data, begins to reproduce our own mistakes. If a facial recognition system works worse on women and black people, this is not just a technical malfunction. This means that entire population groups, for example, may be more vulnerable to false accusations. AI becomes a digital mirror of our social inequality. Profiling is automatic evaluation of a person based on certain characteristics, income, address, behavior, to predict their actions or assign them a status. This is when a social protection algorithm, designed to protect children, begins, for example, a hunt for the poor. It learned from data that problems more often arise in families with low income, and begins to see a threat in poverty itself. As a result, a family begins to be checked not because there is a complaint, but because their profile is disadvantaged. And finally, exclusion from services. Voice assistants that poorly recognize accents or speech peculiarities, or medical applications that don't account for health characteristics of certain ethnic groups, all this builds invisible walls, cutting off entire groups of people from the benefits of the digital world. Individual harm affects one person, group harm, a specific community. But when the scale of impact goes beyond separate people and groups, we face social harm. This is no longer just injustice, but a threat to entire institutions, education, elections, public trust. Such harm destroys the foundations of our interaction as a society and undermines trust in digital technologies. One of the key mechanisms of such impact is manipulation of public opinion. Artificial intelligence technologies allow creating fake videos, managing bot networks, and automatically spreading disinformation with high speed and accuracy. Social platform algorithms, optimized for engagement, amplify the effect of information isolation. Users more often encounter content that confirms their current views, which leads to the formation of so-called information bubbles or echo chambers. This reduces the level of public discussion and contributes to the growth of polarization. In the most dangerous scenarios, artificial intelligence can be applied for purposeful interference in electoral processes. For example, through micro-targeting of political advertising based on citizens' behavioral and psychological characteristics or attacks on vote-counting infrastructure. Such practices have already been recorded in a number of countries and represent a serious challenge to the sustainability of democratic systems. Finally, let's look at how artificial intelligence can influence our future through education. On one hand, artificial intelligence promises a revolution in learning. But if advanced AI tutors will be available only to elite schools or cost a lot, we will get a new round of educational inequality. The gap between education quality for rich and poor will become even greater. On the other hand, there is a risk of critical thinking atrophy. When students use neural networks to write essays, they may get a good grade, but they don't learn the main thing, to independently analyze, structure thoughts, and argue their position. And all this leads to the loss of basic skills, the ability to search for information, synthesize it, write coherent texts. All of this can degrade if we delegate these tasks too much to machines. We risk raising a generation that brilliantly masters technologies but has forgotten how to think independently. Now let's check what you've learned from this lesson. You'll see 6 questions on today's topic. Pause the video and take a moment to answer them. If you have any questions or doubts, don't hesitate to leave them in the comments. We'll do our best to help you. We have examined how artificial intelligence can cause harm to separate people and entire groups, violate rights, threaten safety, intensify inequality. But this is only part of the picture. Now we are moving to the next important topic, harm that artificial intelligence can cause to organizations or even the entire ecosystem, from reputation loss to climate and infrastructure threats. Let's see how algorithm errors can be reflected in the very structure of our world.